am here to explain to you in a simple way what is a data structure. So, the word data structure itself tells the structure of the data purely depends upon the type of the data. So, here we see whenever you want to store a data in a single byte, we can declare that variable as a character. Suppose you want to allocate a data for an integer, the memory allocated for be integer may be 2 bytes or 4 bytes. When you want to store data of type float, we are going to declare that variable as a float and the memory allocated for it may be 4 bytes or 8 bytes depending upon the system. So this diagram clearly explains to you the structure of the data depends upon the type of the data. So this is basically how memory is allocated whenever you're going to declare a variable in any programming languages. These are all called primary data types. So from here we have the word called abstract data type. So look at this abstract data types. The basic data structures that you learned initially in the subjects are list, stack and queue. So all these are known as abstract data types. So they are also coming under the category of data types, but they have their own abstract features. If you look at this diagram, list is an abstract data type or a data type where it looks like an array. So the data is stored as a list of data. So the memory allocated for the list data structure will be in consecutive memory locations. So whenever you want to access any data, you have to traverse from the beginning of the list data structure. So the time taken to access every element of the list data structure is order of n, that is the size of the list data structure. Second comes stack data structure. Stack is also looking like an array in a tilted manner. Here we have an array looking in a tilted way where you are going to allocate memory as an array and the name of this particular array is called a stack array. So whenever you want to insert a data, I can insert only at one end of the array. So that is called a push operation. So whenever you push a data inside a stack, it will be stored in the lowermost level of the stack. So every time you push a data into a stack array, it will be placed on top of the stack. That is why this n is called the top of the stack. Similarly, when you want to delete an element in a stack, we can only delete from the top of the array, which is called a pop operation. So insertion as well as deletion can be done only at one end of the stack, that is called a top of the stack. So this is how a stack works. If you take a queue data structure, queue is also looking like an array, but it's having two different ends for insertion and deletion. So queue, you can imagine queue as a people standing in a queue for any particular operation. So whenever a person is coming inside or entering into the queue, they can only enter into the queue only at the rear end of the queue. So that is why insertion is done at one end called the rear end of the queue data structure. So whenever you want to delete a data from a queue, only the person who is standing in first will be served first in the queue. So first in, first out is a basic concept of queue data structure. So this gives a simple understanding of how a data structure. So basically data structure is defined as a collection of data which is organized and stored in a different. So how to manage and store the data is all about you're going to learn in this subject called data structure. Thank you.